So thanks for joining us. And look, with the way that AI is being utilized, we've heard it this morning that both attackers and defenders are really leveraging AI in all different types of ways. So look, that means we're seeing attacks that we just don't look like traditional attacks anymore. They look like normal users once they're inside an organization. What's the biggest shift in how leaders need to think about detection when talking about all the new paradigms that we're dealing with?
Yeah, that's a great question. That's actually something that comes up quite frequently in the field. So for years, security detections and uncovering IOCs has been based around traditional static thresholds, right? It's a very alert first mindset. And in more traditional environments, that was applicable, right? That made sense. As we get into more dynamic modern environments and cloud environments, those traditional thresholds aren't adaptive to the dynamic nature of the environment. So a static rule that we built 5 years ago or even 2 years ago is no longer applicable, right? So the shift, in our opinion, is basing detection and understanding of the environment around the current context of the environment and what normal behavior looks like. Those traditional rule sets often result in too much noise because, again, they're not reflective of what's happening currently in the environment. Or conversely, they can miss more subtle activity that is just as bad, if not worse, right? So basing detection around the real-time nature of and the true performance of the environment is something that's quite critical and goes a long way in reducing that noise and detecting things that are relevant and need to be prioritized by security teams focusing and supporting that environment.
So let's drill down to that noise point. If AI is changing the speed of the game, especially for agencies, how do we use it effectively without it just being a noise generator?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a couple different interesting aspects that have been hit on AI today. We've heard about how now threat actors are leveraging AI to scale out social engineering, to automate reconnaissance against individuals. We've also heard about how agencies themselves are adopting AI to accelerate their mission. So it's creating this interesting catch-22, or sort of a double-edged sword, where more attack surfaces are being exposed by these new technologies that organizations are leveraging, but at the same time, our attackers are advancing at typically a faster rate. So on the sort of the third side of that two-sided coin, we all need to start thinking about how do we leverage AI to understand that new attack surface and those new attack vectors that are coming out. In our opinion, at least, AI needs to be grounded in real-time understanding of the environment. What do normal traffic patterns look like? What's running in the subnet? What applications typically talk to this database? So feeding all of that clean real-time observability data into the same security engine is absolutely critical. It's garbage in, garbage out, like it's always been since the dawn of IT. So to eliminate noise and just add another alarm that's buzzing along with the million notifications on your phone, let's make sure that we're feeding real-time clean observability data alongside our vulnerabilities that we're detecting, alongside of the access logs that we're pouring through to make alerts contextual, not just noise that's buzzing in your ear.
So all those alarms that you talk about, talking about tooling, if all this activity is blending into normal activity, what about all those traditional alarms? Agencies everywhere have spent millions, putting those alarms in their system. So I'm wondering, is there a way for them to keep up with that tooling, or is it a different dynamic altogether? Like, how does that fit into what we've been talking about?
Yeah, great question. So yeah, like we talked about a second ago, right? Traditional technologies, and traditional threat detection, and threat hunting, worked well when environments were much more static, right? We knew what our infrastructure looks like. Users are operating in a very well-defined perimeter, but the modern environment looks a lot different. Our users are often remote and mobile, especially after COVID. Applications expose APIs, interoperate with partners. Applications are, oftentimes multi-cloud, hybrid cloud as well. So point being, it's the ability to weave in that context and that real-time understanding of the environment is absolutely critical, right? So it's taking into account the performance, it's taking into account the cost, and weaving all that in a way that helps contextualize insights as they pop up, and of course, detection. So it's not that, it's not necessarily that folks in this room have made bad investments in poor tooling, right? It's more so that as we evolve, the tools need to evolve at a rate that equates.
Yeah, and it sounds like observability is changing as well. I mean, we used to think of observability as just something that you needed for uptime, but now it seems like it's a core security requirement.
It is. I mean, so there's going to be some of my colleagues in the audience who are going to groan as soon as they see this or as soon as they hear this. But organizations can't protect what they first can't see and understand. So going back to my comment a second ago, if you don't know what applications are talking to a database, how are you going to know when a threat actor is going and compromising that database, right? So it's providing that real-time understanding. That's a core principle of zero trust, is real-time continuous monitoring end to end. And even taking that a step further, delivering that contextual understanding of applications and infrastructure in the environment, but marrying that up to security security insights, vulnerabilities, active threats, maybe compromised users. The ability to marry that up and share that context across dev, sec, and ops is absolutely critical. When those three teams are disconnected, I often find that context gets lost in translation across various tools. I often find that security responses are slower than they typically should be. And when people are operating off the same sheet of music, they're just more in tune. So for a quick example, instead of a developer getting a list of vulnerabilities at the end of the month that they have to go off and address, let's surface those vulnerabilities and those threats in the context of their day-to-day workflow, right? So instead of 4 o'clock on a Friday, here's 100 vulnerabilities, go get them done by Monday, go get them patched, it's, I've got a couple minutes, we're rolling out an update tomorrow, let's patch that. So, right, it's getting non-security personas involved in the security space. It's that shift left motion, that DevSecOps motion that we've been talking about for years, but the ability to actualize that goes a long way in accelerating that, detection, diagnosis, and remediation process.
I mean, I'm sure we could talk about this for 45 minutes, but we only have 60 seconds left. But so if you are going back to your desk on Monday and trying to think about this in a new paradigm, what is that one catalyst that can really start people into taking this modern approach to observability?
Yeah, sure thing. So I'll leave you with one practical thing. So before you all go out and start layering on AI, before you go out and start layering on automation, make sure that your continuous monitoring and your continuous security practices have a true representation of what's occurring in the environment, right? What do traffic volumes look like? How do identities typically access these resources? Have that baseline of understanding, and then we can build on the shiny things, the AI, the automation. Because without that strong foundation, it's a house that's only got one supporting beam, right? It's going to tip over. So make sure that's rock solid again, and then work on the more exciting stuff. But yeah, just if folks haven't started thinking about that, that is the context that serves up and helps us prioritize and identify issues as they bubble up.
Great. Owen, really appreciate you coming on stage and giving us these insights. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks, folks.